The Muffins finish up fixing up what they can of their tanks from the Plague's ambush and collects the little supplies they could from what was remaining of them, also to pay respects for those that they had lost. The Russian father finishes loading up his tank along with the others to head back out to their main base in Castilla, as the sound of an incoming transmission is begun to be heard coming from one of the high leaders in a desperate tone of voice. The Muffins stop to look over at the radio, wondering what it could be as the Russian father walks over to answer the call. Everyone stands in silence as the high leaders tell them 3 bases have mysteriously disappeared. They've been trying to get a hold of them and fear their disappearance has something to do with the swarm and counterattack against them. One of the missing bases isn't far from where the Muffins are and is asked to go find out why they are not responding, as they will send 2 other spy divisions out to find out what happened to them as well. The Russian father hangs up the radio and looks back at the Muffins to ask them if what had been happening is really coming true, when the Plague mentioned during their last deadly encounter if this was just the beginning of the end. The German leader turns to look back at them as he responds with a confident no, because it's the only option they have, as they begin to start their engines and head out to the nearest disappeared base. Back at Castilla, the Russian father's daughter notices the intensity and feeling around her of crews beginning to assemble and prepare for another journey out among the Plague lands. She stands up and starts to make her way through the panicking commotion among the base beginning to happen. She turns as she hears the sound of a crew member calling out to another while announcing they need to assemble what they can and head out to one of their nearest bases that might be in trouble. The daughter bites her lip as she realizes this may be her only chance to prove to her father she can do what she's been wanting to prove to him for so long, but knows where he stands against her desire to help. She decides to go against her father's will as she begins to grab some gear and climbs into one of the nearest tanks heading out as other tanks begin to depart, not knowing if her training and what she's prepared for would be anything like what she might face on the fields. During the Muffins' travels, the Russian father begins to feel not right about something as the son asks if everything is okay. The Russian father turns to look at him with only a response of uncertainty. After a day of travel, they begin to approach one of the bases they were told had lost communication with them, as the Russian father, along with the other commanders of the Muffin tanks, climb out of their hatch to see waves of smoke and fire covering the land. Silence falls between them as they stop their tanks in disbelief and stare in fear of seeing one of their larger bases wiped out so quickly without the ability of sending a distress signal. How could this have happened? This was one of our most fortified and protected bases, the American commander says as the German and Russian commander begin to climb out of their tanks. Just then, the sound of something large has begun to be heard in the base before them in the distance. The German commander runs over to grab his binoculars as he tries to peer through the fire and smoke covered base to see any sight of life or what the sound might be coming from. German commander slowly lowers his binoculars as the rest of the Muffins stare on to witness the newly recent development of plague tanks that have come to be with the power of all the garages now owned by them. As the tanks are seen traveling through, another sound is heard coming from along their side, coming towards them as they begin to try and retreat as fast as they can. The German commander continues to look on as the KV commander grabs him while yelling, "We don't have time, we have to get out of here," as the plague begins to close in. The daughter continues with the controls of a tank she had decided to join as she begins to gain more confidence in her decision to disobey her father, and smoothly guides her tank along with the other spies to get eyes on one of their other bases they were assigned to look into that went missing. As the tanks continue over the hills and approach the base's location, the reflection of each crew member's eyes begin to reflect the sight of death and fire from all around, with destruction seen from every tank around the land. They slowly crept through the base while looking around to see no sight or signal of a survivor in their midst. Their tanks stop in the middle of the town as the commanders of the tank begin to open their hatches to look around in amazement at the annihilation that had taken place here. The daughter watches as she sees her commander rub his face in disbelief and picks up the radio to message back into Castilla to announce why we had lost communication, just as a shell rips right through his body and explodes on one of the town walls before them. The sight of never-seen-before plague tanks are seen surrounding them in the town. And firing upon them as the daughter frantically grabs the controls to take command, now that their commander is no more, to get them out of there, as other tanks begin to panic and fire back while trying to retreat from the ambush. While trying to escape, the sight of explosions surround her while she continues to dodge the close call rounds firing to hit her tank. Wiped out as an unexpected projectile is seen to turn and blows up another one of their retreating tanks. "What was that?" a fellow tanker yells while looking out their viewport as two newly researched plague tanks come racing around the corner to set eyes on the last of the Muffins divisions trying to escape. More rounds are fired back to Plague as the last of their other spy tanks try to maneuver against the projectiles fired at them but fail. And are seen exploding from the impact of what had hit them. The daughter realizes that she's going to have to give it all she knows if they're going to have any chance of escaping this. Projectile tanks race toward her to aim in and fire again, while she jerks the controls to just barely dodge one of the missiles, but causes the others to explode along their side, bringing the tank to a halt. The Plague begins to surround them and come to a stop as the crew of the daughter's tank try to run and get out, but before getting far, they get shot down, leaving the daughter to be the only one left alive after the attack. She shakes in fear of what will happen to her now as the Plague soldiers close in on her to find her.